The notification popped up on my phone at 11:47 p.m., just as I was finishing my quarterly revenue reports for Sapphire Hospitality Group. Instagram alert. Your sister Jessica tagged you in a post. I clicked through, expecting another family photo I'd been excluded from, a pattern I'd grown used to over the past 3 years. But this one stung more than usual. The image showed my entire family lounging by a pristine infinity pool, tropical drinks in hand, designer sunglasses reflecting the Caribbean sunset. Mom and Dad looked relaxed in matching resort robes. My brother Michael had his arm around his wife Sarah, both grinning at the camera. Jessica posed in the center, her blonde hair perfectly styled despite the beach humidity. But it was the caption that made my chest tighten. Family vacation without the freeloader. Beach with umbrella. Sometimes you need quality time with people who actually contribute. #blessed, #family time, #nadramamama, #adults only. 956 likes already. The comments were pouring in. Looks amazing. You deserve this. Family time is the best time. Sometimes you have to cut dead weight. Good for you for setting boundaries. I recognized the hotel immediately, the Grand Sapphire Resort in Turks and Caicos. The infinity pool with the distinctive glass edge, the hand-carved teak furniture, the signature blue tile work. I'd spent months perfecting those design details 3 years ago during the renovation. My phone buzzed with a text from my assistant. Olivia, the Grand Sapphire manager is requesting approval for a large group extension. The Thompson family wants to add 3 more days. Should I approve? Thompson. My family still used Mom's maiden name for travel, claiming it was easier for group bookings. They had no idea their freeloader sister had been comping their luxury accommodations for the past 2 years. I scrolled through Jessica's post again, reading the comments that praised her for cutting toxic people out. The irony would have been funny if it didn't hurt so much. I typed a simple comment, "Have fun." Smiling face with smiling eyes. Then I opened my laptop and pulled up the guest management system for all 37 Sapphire Resort properties. The Thompson reservation showed a 7-day stay in 2 adjoining oceanfront suites, with all-inclusive dining, spa services and excursion packages. Total value, $28,000. Listed as a VIP comp under my approval code. My finger hovered over the keyboard as I considered my options. The story of how I'd become the freeloader began 5 years ago, when I'd made the mistake of being honest about my financial struggles. I'd just completed my MBA and was working 16-hour days as a junior analyst at an investment firm, barely making enough to cover my studio apartment and student loans. "At least you're trying," Jessica had said then, in that condescending tone that made everything sound like pity. Some people are just better at making money than others. The family had rallied around my difficulty, offering advice, making connections, and generally treating me like their charity case. When I'd started investing in small hospitality properties, they'd called it cute and warned me about the risks. Restaurants and hotels are such risky investments, Dad had explained over Sunday dinner. Maybe stick to something more stable like index funds. The failure rate is astronomical, Michael had added. 90% of restaurants close within 5 years. Maybe try something smaller first, Mom had suggested, like a food truck or a bed and breakfast. So I'd stopped telling them about the investments. When the first property turned profitable, I didn't mention it. When I bought the second and third properties, I kept quiet. When Sapphire Hospitality Group went from a side project to a multi-million-dollar enterprise, they remained blissfully unaware. It became easier to let them believe I was still struggling. They were happier thinking they were helping their unsuccessful little sister, and I was happier not defending my business decisions at every family gathering. The first comp vacation had been Mom's 60th birthday. They'd booked a weekend at the Sapphire Resort in Napa, and I'd quietly upgraded them to the presidential suite and covered the bill. When they'd raved about the incredible customer service and unbelievable deal they'd gotten, I just smiled and nodded. It had become a pattern. Family wedding in Maui? I'd ensure they got the best rooms at my resort there. Anniversary celebration in Charleston? The Sapphire Boutique Hotel would mysteriously offer them a loyalty program discount. They thought they were savvy travelers finding amazing deals. I thought I was quietly taking care of family who believed I couldn't take care of myself. But tonight, staring at that caption, "Freeloader," I realized I'd been enabling their narrative instead of correcting it. I pulled out my phone and called Daniel Rodriguez, the general manager at Grand Sapphire Turks and Caicos. Olivia, good evening. I hope I didn't wake you with that extension request. You didn't. Actually, I'm calling about the Thompson reservation. Of course. They're lovely guests. Very complimentary about the service. Should I approve the extension? I looked at Jessica's post again. 1,247 likes now. More comments celebrating their drama-free vacation. Actually, Daniel, there's been a change. I need you to revoke the VIP comp status on that reservation. Revoke it? Should I transfer it to a regular booking? No. Cancel the comp entirely and charge their credit card on file for the full amount, including all the services they've already used. There was a pause. Olivia, that's a significant charge. The 7 days plus all the amenities, spa treatments and dining, we're looking at approximately $28,000. I understand. And they're currently in the presidential suites. If they can't cover the full amount, then follow standard protocol for unpaid balances. Which would be immediate checkout, Daniel. You know the policy. Another pause. Are you certain? This seems like a family matter and I don't want to. Daniel, they've made it clear they don't consider me family. So let's treat this as what it is, a business transaction. Understood. When should I process the charges? I looked at the timestamp on Jessica's post. They'd been celebrating their freeloader-free vacation for 3 hours, basking in social media praise and tropical luxury. Process everything first thing in the morning. When they wake up to their room service breakfast, they should also wake up to a corrected bill. And if they can't pay, then they check out immediately. But Daniel, make sure you mention that their previous stays were comped as a courtesy to the property owner. I want them to understand exactly how their deals worked. The property owner. Olivia, are you sure about this approach? I've never been more sure of anything. After hanging up, I opened my laptop and began drafting an email to the managers of all 37 Sapphire properties. Subject line: Removal of VIP comp status Thompson family. The email was brief and professional, instructing all properties to remove the Thompson family from any VIP lists and to charge full rates for any future bookings. I included their photos and identification details to ensure there would be no confusion. As I typed, my phone kept buzzing with notifications. Jessica's post was going viral within our extended family and friend network. Cousins, college friends, and family acquaintances were all liking and commenting, celebrating her decision to exclude the problematic family member. At 2 a.m. I finally closed my laptop and went to bed. My phone sat silent on the nightstand, but I knew that by morning, everything would change. I woke at 7 a.m. to 17 missed calls and 43 text messages. The first call was from Mom at 6:23 a.m. Sophia, honey, there's been a mistake with our hotel bill. Can you call me? Then Dad at 6:31 a.m. There's some confusion at the resort. They're saying we owe $28,000. Obviously an error. Michael at 6:45 a.m. Sis, did you see what happened to Mom and Dad's hotel bill? This is crazy. But it was Jessica's message at 6:52 a.m. that made me smile. Sophia, they're trying to kick us out of the hotel. They say we owe thousands of dollars for comped rooms. Can you help? You work in hotels, right? I did work in hotels. I owned 37 of them. I called Daniel to check on the situation. Good morning, Olivia. I processed the charges at 6 a.m. as requested. The card was declined. Declined. Insufficient funds for the full amount. I spoke with Mrs. Thompson about payment options, and that's when things became interesting. How so? She insisted there had been a mistake, that they'd been getting comp rooms for years due to their family connections in the hotel industry. She specifically mentioned that her sister worked for hotels and had been arranging these deals. I felt a flutter of nervousness. What did you tell her? I explained that their comp status had indeed come through a family connection, specifically that the owner of Sapphire Hospitality Group had been personally covering their expenses, and that the owner had now revoked that arrangement. Did you mention my name? Not directly. But Mrs. Thompson became very insistent about speaking with whoever had been paying for their rooms. She seemed to think it was some kind of misunderstanding that could be cleared up with a phone call. My phone started ringing. I should take this, I told Daniel. What's their checkout status? They have until 2 p.m. to settle the bill or vacate the suites. Hotel policy. I answered Jessica's call. Sophia. Thank God. This place has gone crazy. They're saying someone was paying for our rooms and now they're not, and we owe $28,000. That sounds stressful. It's insane. They won't tell us who was covering the rooms, just that it was a family member in hospitality. Mom thinks it might be cousin Rachel. She works for Marriott Corporate. Can you help us figure this out? You know hotel systems, right? Maybe you could talk to the manager and explain that this is obviously a computer error or something. I walked to my home office and looked at the wall of framed photos. Groundbreaking ceremonies, grand opening celebrations, industry awards. 37 properties across 12 countries, built from a single bed and breakfast investment 5 years ago. Jessica, I saw your Instagram post last night. Oh, that. Listen, it wasn't personal. We just wanted some family time without any complications. Complications. You know what I mean. Sometimes family dynamics can be challenging. And we thought it would be better to just keep things simple this time. By calling me a freeloader? I was just being funny. You know, social media humor. 956 people found it funny. Sophia, look, I'm sorry if that hurt your feelings, but right now we have a bigger problem. We're being asked to pay $28,000 or leave this resort in 6 hours. That does sound like a problem. So can you help? Maybe call the manager and explain that we're good customers who've been staying at Sapphire Properties for years. I pulled up Jessica's Instagram post on my computer. 1,891 likes now. The comments section had expanded into a full celebration of cutting toxic family members out of their lives. Actually, Jessica, I can do better than call the manager. Really? You can fix this. I can explain exactly what happened. Oh, thank God. I knew you'd come through for us. I took a deep breath. The person who's been covering your hotel expenses for the past 2 years, all those amazing deals and surprise upgrades, that was me. Silence. What do you mean that was you? I mean, I own Sapphire Hospitality Group. All 37 properties, including the one where you're currently staying. And I've been personally comping your family's accommodations because I thought it was a nice way to quietly take care of people I love. The silence stretched so long I wondered if the call had dropped. Sophia, are you saying you own this resort? This resort, the one in Napa where you celebrated Mom's birthday, the one in Maui where Michael got married, the boutique hotel in Charleston where Mom and Dad had their anniversary, all of them. But you work at that little investment firm. I worked there 5 years ago when I was getting started. Now I run a hotel empire worth approximately $400 million. Another long silence. 400 million? Give or take. The valuations fluctuate with the market. But you never said, you always acted like you were still struggling. Because every time I mentioned business success, the family found ways to diminish it or warn me about risks. It was easier to let you believe what you wanted to believe. So all those hotel deals were me taking care of family who thought I needed to be taken care of. I could hear voices in the background. Mom and Dad asking Jessica what was happening. Sophia, I don't understand. If you're so successful, why didn't you tell us? I looked at her Instagram post again, still glowing with approval for excluding the freeloader. Because I knew this was what you really thought of me. And I was right, wasn't I? We didn't know. You didn't know, so you assumed. And when you assumed, you decided I was a burden worth mocking on social media. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. You literally called me a freeloader while staying in a resort I own, eating food I was paying for, enjoying services I was providing. Sophia, please. This is just a misunderstanding. No, Jessica. This is perfect clarity. For the first time, everyone sees the situation exactly as it is. What does that mean? It means you have until 2 p.m. to pay your bill or check out. Same as any other guest. You can't be serious. I'm always serious about business. But we're family. You made it very clear last night that I'm not part of this family. So let's treat this like the business transaction it always was. I could hear her explaining the situation to the others now, voices rising in disbelief and panic. Sophia, wait. Jessica came back on the line. We can't afford $28,000. You know that. I know that now. I didn't know that when I was covering your expenses. So what are we supposed to do? The same thing any guest would do when they can't pay their bill. Which is, check out and find accommodations you can afford. The background voices were getting louder. I could hear Dad saying something about calling lawyers, and Mom crying about the misunderstanding. Sophia, please. Can't we talk about this? We are talking about it. I mean in person. Can't you fly down here and we can work this out as a family? Jessica, I'm not part of this family, remember? You made that very clear to 1,891 people. That was social media. That wasn't real. It felt real to me. Sophia, I'm begging you. Please don't do this. I looked out my office window at the city skyline. Somewhere out there were millions of people working hard, building businesses, chasing dreams. Most of them without family support, some of them despite family opposition. Jessica, I want you to think about something. What? For 2 years, I've been quietly supporting family who believed I was too unsuccessful to support myself. I've spent over $200,000 making sure you all had luxury vacations while you pitted me for my financial struggles. We didn't know. You didn't ask. You assumed. And last night, you celebrated publicly that you'd excluded the person who'd been making your celebrations possible. I could hear her breathing, but she wasn't speaking. Do you understand how that feels? Sophia, I'm sorry. We're all sorry. We had no idea. You had no idea because you never considered that I might have succeeded despite your predictions that I'd fail. We never predicted you'd fail. Dad said hospitality investments were too risky. Michael said 90% of restaurants fail. Mom suggested I try something smaller like a food truck. We were just trying to protect you. You were trying to manage me. And when I succeeded anyway, it was easier to stay ignorant than to admit you'd been wrong. Sophia, please. What can we do to fix this? I pulled up the hotel's payment system and looked at their bill. $28,000 for 7 days of luxury they couldn't afford and hadn't appreciated. You can start by posting a correction on Instagram. A correction? Tell your 1,891 followers the truth. That the freeloader you excluded owns the resort chain where you've been staying. That your luxury vacations have been funded by the family member you decided to mock. I can't post that. Why not? It's embarrassing. More embarrassing than calling your sister a freeloader? Another long pause. If I post a correction, will you cover the bill? I felt a familiar disappointment settle in my chest. Even now, even knowing the truth, she was still thinking about what I could do for her instead of what she'd done to me. No, Jessica. That ship has sailed. Then what do you want? I want you to understand that actions have consequences. I want you to realize that the person you dismissed has been supporting you. And I want you to check out of my hotel and find your own way home. Sophia. I have a conference call with investors in 10 minutes. I need to go. Please don't hang up. Goodbye, Jessica. I ended the call and immediately blocked all their numbers. Then I called Daniel back. How are they handling the situation? About as well as expected. There's been some shouting in the lobby and Mrs. Thompson asked to speak with the owner. What did you tell her? That the owner's decision was final and that checkout was mandatory by 2 p.m. if the bill remained unpaid. And they're currently in their rooms, presumably packing. At 3 p.m., Daniel called to confirm that the Thompson family had checked out. They'd managed to book economy rooms at a budget hotel 20 miles away and had changed their flights to leave the next morning instead of staying the planned additional 3 days. At 4 p.m. my phone rang from an unknown number. I let it go to voicemail. Sophia, this is your father. We found a payphone at the airport. We need to talk about what happened today. This can't be how our family ends. Please call us back. At 6 p.m. another voicemail, this one from Mom. Sweetheart, I don't understand what happened, but I love you and we need to work this out. Please don't let money come between our family. At 8 p.m. a voicemail from Michael. Sis, Jessica told us what she posted on Instagram. That was wrong and we should have defended you. But this nuclear option is pretty extreme too. Can we find some middle ground? I listened to each message twice, then deleted them. 2 days later, Jessica posted again on Instagram. This time it was a single photo of an airport terminal with the caption, "Sometimes life teaches you humility in unexpected ways." Red heart hashtag lessons learned hashtag family hashtag grateful. No mention of freeloaders. No mention of me. No explanation to the 1,891 people who'd celebrated our family's drama-free vacation. But there was something else. Buried in the comments, a few people had started asking questions. Wait, didn't you post about excluding your sister? What happened? Are you guys okay? You looked like you were staying somewhere amazing, but now you're at the airport. Did something happen on your trip? Jessica hadn't responded to any of these comments. 3 weeks later, I received an email from Mom with the subject line, "Family meeting? Sophia, we'd like to arrange a time to talk with you about everything that happened. We realize we owe you more than apologies. We owe you recognition and respect for what you've accomplished. Would you be willing to meet with us? We could come to you wherever is convenient. Love, Mom." I stared at the email for a long time before responding. Mom, I appreciate the email, but I need more time. What happened wasn't just about the Instagram post. It was about years of being underestimated and dismissed by people who claimed to love me. I need space to figure out how to move forward. I do love you all, but love isn't enough to rebuild trust. That's going to take time and genuine change. Sophia. She wrote back within an hour. We understand. We'll wait as long as it takes. And Sophia, we're proud of you. We should have said that years ago. I closed my laptop and looked around my office. At the awards, the photos, the evidence of everything I'd built while my family worried I was falling behind. For the first time in years, I felt like I could move forward without carrying the weight of their low expectations. Whether we rebuilt our relationship or not, I was finally free to be exactly who I'd become. Successful, independent, and no longer apologetic about either. Sometimes the best family vacation is the one where you finally stop pretending to be less than you are.